Let's discuss that and more with Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. Thanks for coming on. So do you think this meeting Van Hollen had with Abrego Garcia will actually lead to anything substantive?
I hope that his return is facilitated. I'm glad that Senator Van Hollen met with him, made sure that he was okay. Obviously, his family is represented by Senator Van Hollen in Maryland. But I think the bigger points here, Pamela, were outlined by Judge Wilkinson, a Reagan appointee, a conservative Republican judge in the Fourth Circuit, who basically asked the question, is the executive branch going to obey the rule of law? Because the Supreme Court has asked for his return to be facilitated, Abrego Garcia's. And then secondly, what's to prevent this White House from deporting an American citizen, quote unquote, mistakenly, and then that person not being able to return? And so we're just going into a sense of chaos right now, again, which is mirrored in the markets and the economy, but now also with the rule of law.
In the Oval Office this week, the Salvadoran president said he essentially couldn't release Abrego Garcia, didn't have the power to. What do you make of his decision then to allow this meeting with the U.S. senator, but then insist he'll remain in his country's custody?
I think that this is an authoritarian dictator basically playing around with, basically American interests and thumbing his nose at us. And I think that the courts will continue to do what they have to do in terms of mandating or facilitating this person's return. But we and the public need to continue to shine a light on this central issue of, is the White House and the executive branch going to obey the rule of law? I think most Americans want that, and they don't want to see ultimately American citizens potentially deported because the White House views them as undesirable, and then they claim they can't bring them back.
Right. So just to follow up on that, last night, White House aide Stephen Miller said that this case shows Democrats care more about illegal immigrants than U.S. citizens. How do you respond to that?
No, I think we care about the rule of law. I think we care about the executive branch obeying court orders. And again, Mr. Miller, who is the architect of this particular situation, doesn't want to talk about, I think, their ultimate aim, which is some process whereby they start to target people who are American citizens here on American soil.
That's a big claim. And I know that's just sorry to interrupt, but I know the judge has sort of alluded to that, but that's obviously a big claim right there, that they would start plucking U.S. citizens. Tell me more about why you think that that's where we're headed.
Remember, Trump brought that up in his discussion with Bukele, the ruler of El Salvador,
right,
in his discussion in the White House. And so I think that this is something that we have to be concerned about. I don't think that it's just abstract. And I think it's something that everybody should be concerned about, because it could be, someone else who might look like you, me. The administration claims is somehow part of a gang, and then they deport that person without due process. Ultimately, however, I think the president is trying to distract a lot of attention from kind of the chaos in the economy, the tariffs that are wreaking havoc on businesses, as well as consumers and investors. And I think that overall, my constituents are reaching out to me and saying they just feel like things are out of control right now.
And we know that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is looking at the law surrounding this. I'm just wondering, given what you're hearing from your constituents who are so worried right now, what are you going to do for them? Obviously, Democrats only have so much power right now. You don't have the majority in Congress. What can you do? What is within your power that your constituents want you to do right now?
I think, well, first of all, helping people individually who have been potentially swept up or targeted. We have legal permanent residents, green card holders who are now concerned that they might be targeted by this administration. So trying to work with them in whatever way, shape, or form to protect them. And then secondly, in Congress, we and our colleagues have to continue to shine a light on the harm that the administration is doing to our justice system, to our rule of law, and kind of try to make sure that people, even in the mainstream, are aware of this, because I think that the more that they are, public sentiment will shift against kind of these practices which seem to be at odds with the rule of law.
All right, Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank you very much for your time and have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much, Pamela.